Yeah, thanks for joining. I wanted to come on here real quick and offer up a word of encouragement. I know that seems like hyperbole for a lot of people when they hear that phraseology. Word of encouragement. Yeah, okay. But I really mean it. It's, for me, it's heartfelt, and it's one of those things where, you don't really like to have to give it, its proper due or credence or any kind of formality like that, but you have to acknowledge that we get to a point and it becomes the law of diminishing returns kicks in bold fashion, and there's not much we can do about it. You or I or whoever may have been a stud or a studette back in the day, and you could just go on and 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 on. And there wasn't nothing that wasn't big enough for you to tackle. And I just want to let you know, if it means anything to you, that I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Look, 3.5 years ago, I had massive congestive heart failure. A lot of you know the story. I'll try not to bore you again. But I was operated on twice. Each operation cost about $500,000. Second time I was operated on, I died on the table. And after that, I was a mess. I was just a mess. And one of my valves, they told me that they had never seen it before because I drove myself to the hospital, but one of my valves, we got 4 valves, and one of the arteries or valves, I don't know the correct terminology for it, but one of the valves was 100% completely blocked. So they said, you shouldn't even have been alive when you walked in here. And when I finally got out, about 2.5 months later, I lost 70 pounds. Just whatever, muscle I had on my body just evaporated. They were talking about either putting me in hospice or assisted living or being put on a list for a replacement heart. At least, the very least, was a pacemaker. And it was tough. It was tough, And, going to classes for trying to, get your speech patterns back and all of that sort of thing, doing crossword puzzles and just weird stuff, trying to kickstart your cognitive abilities, as it were. But I know that there's a lot of people that go through things like that, and I am telling you, it's not like you've got a cadre of well-wishers, cheering you on in the bleachers. You may have a few, and if you're blessed and lucky, they'll be your relatives. I don't have any relatives. And the ones that I thought were my relatives gaslighted me a few years ago. And I was adopted anyway, so neither here nor there. But the point being is, you make family wherever you go. That's the good silver lining to that. And then, you got a question. It's tough doing things, it's tough. It gets tougher. You want to go on trips and you can't make the trip, It's like, wait a minute. Back in the day, I could drive from San Diego to past Chicago in about 2.5 days to northern Indiana. It would take me a couple of weeks now, at least. And it's things like that, that you're on the downside of your productive self. And you're thinking, oh man, this really, And you do have a flash of somebody that's interested in what you do or who you are, and they talk to you for a few minutes, and it's like, wow, yeah, this is really cool. Maybe somebody's remotely interested in the message, the remnant message, a remnant of who? A remnant of Israel, spiritual Israel, that the vast religiosity and institutions of the world have largely written off. They don't even consider it as a viable option. Not even for discourse, not even for theology, not even for dogma, not even for nothing. But I'm telling you, not because I'm important, I'm not. The few of us are telling you, you better come on board with this stuff. It's the real deal. So why are we still here, some of us? And it just hurts you, it rams the thought home, and it just bores right into your soul. And you just want to commiserate with other people that are like-minded, that are like-hearted, that have the same consistency or constitution of your heart and what it means for you and what other people mean for you. And then it brings you back to basics, because you have this affection, you want to bring things to the table, and you want them to mean something, and you want them to cause, people to have the proverbial aha moment and to appreciate something. And that's all it's about. That's all it's about. That's where you're at. That's where you're at. And then things just don't work out. A lot of times, the older we get, again, this goes back, it defaults, unfortunately, to the old principle of diminishing returns that you get on your efforts, or whatever the case may be. But you come across that one case scenario where it just lifts you up. It really lifts you up. Maybe somebody would get interested like somebody did today for me, because I was walking across the parking lot and getting something out of my car, and they told me, they says, wait a minute, what does your shirt say? I saw it sparkle. And then we got to talking about it, and we're talking about, all the stuff in Russia, with the 8.8 news, and people get scared, and, buildings fall apart, and that's the way the world's going. The world is falling apart. Speaking of which, I don't know how many people of you have been outside driving around, albeit the fact that it's in the hundreds here in Texas, but people are driving like crazy. It's getting obscene, just outright obscene, how people are driving around. On 35 down here in Texas, it's kind of like a main artery. San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, all that sort of thing. Goes all the way up to Texarkana and beyond, but it's nuts. So, what's the moral to the biblical story that we're trying to present here in a user-friendly sense? Is you get with like-minded people, you get into the Word, and you always be on that lookout for those nuggets of truth that you feel insanely, that's not a good term, but you feel incredibly happy about just to share, because you know it's going to edify. And when you're all out there and you got nobody to look at what you're doing, and you're thinking nobody cares, somebody cares. You never forget that. Somebody cares. I'm going to put my number up there. You can text anytime. One of my phone numbers. Text me anytime. I'll put it on the website. The shirt that I got on right now, it's fireforthesoul.com. And, somebody does care. So if you think nobody cares, you're wrong. We need to show more of that, especially with the people that maybe they don't have the savvy or the technical acumen to get there on the inner tube and project themselves like the ugly jarhead that you're seeing right now. But they got a lot to offer. Just listen to them. That's all you got to do. Just listen to them. And you're going to get rewarded. You're going to get rewarded. Because you're going to say something, and they'll just sparkle right up. They'll just light right up. And they were hoping and waiting for you to say something. So don't back off of that kind of opportunity. This is the real deal. We're at the end game. Earthquakes. Yeah. Earthquakes. 8.8 in Russia. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Because they're messing with the harmonic. The Earth is like a great big tuning fork. And once they get behind the technology of all that, they can affect anything above and below. The weather above or the weather below. And all the way in between. So we live in crazy times, and they're only going to get worse. They're only going to get worse. Satan has about run his game. If he's at a poker game, he's just about run out of chips, and he's got some really bad hands. And people are really starting to come on board. The ones who are getting their names written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And they're calling Satan out. And he's not used to that. He always thought that he was the untouchable. But we got news for you, Satan. We're eating away at your empire. We're knocking it down. We're making the truth known. Satan, you're on the run. Your kingdom is crumbling. And there's a new world coming, Satan. And all these little people that you've been trying to crush, they're going to crush you big time, Satan. I love you guys. Stay remnant. Your family. Never change. I love you guys. We'll talk soon.